broadcast system announcing the commencement of the annual purge sanctioned by the U.S. government. Weapons of Class 4 and lower have been authorized for use during the purge. All other weapons are restricted. Government officials of ranking 10 have been granted immunity from the purge and shall not be harmed. Commencing at the siren, any and all crime, including murder, will be legal for 12 continuous hours. Police, fire, and emergency medical services will be unavailable until tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. when the purge concludes. Blessed be our new founding fathers and America, a nation reborn. May God be with you all.
I'm sorry, I couldn't resist. If the video was gonna be on the Purge, I'd actually downloaded that because I originally wanted to play an April Fool's prank on someone, but the joke just did not work overall. I didn't even do the joke, so yeah. The Forever Purge is coming out this weekend, and I am cautiously optimistic. I think in order to celebrate the newest movie coming out, I'm going to take another look back on one of the Nostalgia Critic's oldest videos, the evolution of the Purge movies. And the Purge movies are a strange entity. Hold on a second. Yeah, my mom had just come in. She needed to get something here. But yeah, the Purge movies. In a first installment, it's funny because it's one of those where the first installment was so mediocre that when the next two films came out, they were surprisingly good in many ways. I was surprised by how good 2 and 3 actually were. Because, okay, I've seen the first one, the original, the one that's simply called The Purge, not The First Purge. The original Purge movie is essentially what I'm going to call it. So I don't get myself confused with the other one. It was a mediocre film. For me, it had an interesting concept because I do think the idea of crime being legal for like 12 hours, 12 continuous hours, is a pretty scary idea. If it was set in that dystopian future, it is a kind of a scary idea. But at the end of the day, the first one is essentially just a run of the mill home invasion film. And I think a lot of that had to do, I think, not just with the fact that the film was very low budgeted, but the characters just weren't interesting. And trust me, there was you have Ethan Hawke and Lena Headey, two extremely likable actors, especially Lena Headey, who is nothing, or Hetty. I think it's Hetty that you pronounce it. She's a really great actress, and she's actually kind of nice in real life. She's nothing like Cersei Lannister. Yeah, but just like the characters were not interesting. The only characters I really did like were the stranger that the son in the first movie saved, because he's a character that would eventually be in 2 and 3. He's actually is an interesting character. He's just a victim, and the menacing guy, like easily the best part of the movie, the one who's like, Mr. Sandin, please open the door. Please give us our victim back. We have the right to purge him. Those two characters were easily the best parts of the first one. But it's just mediocre, the first movie. It's like 2.5 out of 4 stars at best, like a C plus. But I think it was because they had a very limited budget on the first one. Because then the second one, they went with a more Escape from New York vibe, very more Carpenter esque vibe. And when I say Carpenter, I mean 80s Carpenter. So like from that decade of from the Fall, from like Dark Star to In the Mouth of Madness, with the exception of Memoirs of an Invisible Man. I did not like that one. But yeah, the sequels 2 and 3 I feel like improved on the idea, not just because we got to see more from the outside of what happens, but because the characters were far more interesting. Like Grillo's character, Ben Barnes, is such an interesting character. And he was easily my favorite part of the sequel. Same thing with the other characters that are introduced throughout in 2 and 3, like the character played by Carmen Diogo, and the one in the third one that's played by the actress, the who was all right, yeah, Muerte actress, Purge actress, because I know she was also in Get Out. Betty Gabriel. She was she was the actress. She was the one who was like the mother character essentially in Get Out. Like no 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 no. Yeah, Georgina is her character's name. She's such a good actress. And she was so great as well in Get Out, and she was also really great in the Purge election year because a lot of the characters were interesting. In fact, I'm gonna look it up. The Purge franchise. Uh, I should be technically taking a shower by now, but I just want to get this video out of the way. Let me check how my other video's doing. Still uploading. Yeah, I was recording a previous video here. Uh, public. Sorry, I've been uploading videos like crazy, so as to make up for my lack of content. All right, so I'm looking at it. Films. I don't see what the performance is. I think if I look at the box office numbers at reception. All right, let's see here. So, all right, the first movie, the original Purge movie, had a budget of 3 million. So that's like very. So pretty much they had no budget at all, and were stuck to one location. But with Anarchy and Election Year, they cost both 9 million and 10 million respectively, and that's why I think they were better was because they had more of a budget for James DeMonico to do what he wanted to do. And the prequel movie, the first Purge, or as I like to call it, Purge Beginnings, was made on a budget of 13 million. Oh yeah, and there's also this TV series which I've never seen, although I don't think I plan on it. And the newest one has a budget of 25, nearly 26 million. So that's interesting. Anyway, yeah, The Purge. Essentially, they got better with 2 and 3. Like, Anarchy is my favorite. The Purge Anarchy is my favorite. Election kind of took a bit of a step back, but it was still a good entry in the series. So, as I rank the whole series, The Purge Anarchy, Election Year, the original Purge movie, and then the prequel movie, the first Purge, which I wanted to like that movie, but it was a disappointment. I really did not care for that one. It was just not as good, I think. You know, I feel like although there was a decent moment that I did enjoy in it, there was the one where a girl is trying to look for her brother out in the purge, and then just a guy comes out with a baby head, and like the girl just knocks down that purger, and she screams, "What's he grabbing?" Yeah, just like that shot. I liked that joke. But anyway, Doug here has had a certain opinion on the Purge movies. I know he really did not care for the first one though. But let's see what he thinks about the sequels. This is the evolution of the Purge movies by the Nostalgia Critic. To give you a timestamp on where the hell I'm at, 9 frickin' minutes. Let's start. Actually, let me leave the door open. I need some air. I've been doing this shit for like 11 years now. 10 years. 4 years of community college for this. I love playing. Yeah, interesting thing about the video that Doug did on the first Purge movie. Um, Matthew Buckham is in a Film Brain himself, is in that video.
Hello, I'm the Nostalgia Critic. I remembered so you don't have to.
Thank you, Doug.
If you saw my review of The Purge, you know that I thought it was...
Bad.
Shut the fuck up! Needing improvement. The movie, nevertheless, was a huge surprise hit. So much so that the fourth movie is coming out this 4th of July. Despite the spin-off films rarely reaching #1 at the box office, and I'm just gonna take a wild guess and say that's gonna happen again, they're still seen as successes. In many respects, it's hard not to see why. The Purge is a cool idea. One night a year, all crime is legal and people take to the streets to live out their darkest fantasies. Everything from a satirical, exploitive, and political level seems to easily comment on itself. There was just one problem: the first film sucked at it. It took place mostly in one home, it was filled with holes, the characters were weak, and the whole angle of the film seemed to be making the point that we're all just one step away from making this all happen. It's kind of like the people who are saying we're one step away from Handmaid's Tale happening. I feel like there's a few more steps. I hammered in how much the first film was, well, hammered in, coming across as pretentious, forced, and not even much fun on an exploitive level. Except for this guy who played the leader. He was so awesome I gave him a name. I called him Henry, which was technically the boyfriend's name, but he was so pointless I gave his name to this guy. Confused? Don't be! The Purge just works.
The undeniable fact is, this is working.
And that was one of the biggest problems with the film. The economy is supposed to be better, people's social statuses were supposed to be better, all because of this one day.
Because it works.
Don't believe me? Science!
We are inherently a violent species. The denial of our true selves is the problem. The countrywide catharsis creates psychological stability by letting us release the aggression we all have inside of us.
Yeah, how'd that line go in National Lampoon's Vacation again?
You must have got manure for your brains.
Next you'll be telling me in my Fox Kids review Tony J didn't play the Kingpin. I really shouldn't start sentences with next you'll be telling me. But I'm not here to talk about the first film again, I'm here to talk about the follow-up movies, which, surprisingly, seem to get better with each passing one.
Yeah.
I know that sounds strange seeing how the first one was so bad, but with every movie more...
Well, think about it. Star Trek The Motion Picture. Not a good film in my opinion. I mean, it's got cool shots, but essentially it's just trailer shots of the Enterprise. And it's so slow-paced that once it came with Star Trek Wrath of Khan, the series started to get a little better. And then Leonard Nimoy did Star Trek 3, The Search for Spock, and Star Trek 4, The Voyage Home. So there's that perfect record of good Star Trek movies until Final Frontier ruined it. But thankfully we got back on point with Undiscovered Country, which in my opinion is the best of the original series movies. But yeah, there are so many movies where it's like the first one was not good, and the sequel is actually pretty damn good. There's so many like that.
More and more improvements are made, and it's fascinating to analyze them. Now heads up, while I'm not going to go into every detail about the films, particularly the fourth one, because it hasn't come out yet by the time I'm reviewing this, there are spoilers that need to be addressed in order for this evaluation to work. So you've been warned. Basically, the Purge movies have gone from high school notice-me fiction to legitimately clever commentary with each passing movie. It's almost as if the filmmakers realized the problems with the first film and decided, let's fix them with each flick. Something rarely seen in movie sequels that usually just get worse and worse the more they make. What makes it even more interesting is the first 3 films are written and directed by the same person.
James DeMonaco.
James DeMonaco not only makes each film better as they progress, but he actually goes back and retcons the issues of the first movie in a way that doesn't require time traveling, dreaming, or whatever the Connors are going to do. He used actual...
I would rather watch the Connors than watch Roseanne, because I just do not care about Roseanne Barr anymore. After what she said, I've just kind of been like, no, you crossed a line there, Roseanne. I cannot support you anymore. You should burn in hell. Essentially what I'm going to say to Roseanne Barr is that she is a racist bitch that deserves to be burned in the ninth circle of hell.
Actual clever writing, making the first movie a shitty standalone film, but an interesting POV movie when part of a larger story.
That is true. It makes me sort of appreciate what they're doing is the different points of view. In the first one, it's, through the inside of a home, mostly due to budgetary reasons. The second one, it's due to, it's seen from the point of view of the poor. And in the third one, it's seen from a political point of view. And I think they were trying to combine all of that in the prequel movie, and it did not work. But for the first three movies, the way they were doing the point of views, each worked for their own film, regardless of the fact that the first movie sucked.
Was this all part of the grand plan? Unlikely, but it still bears taking a look. As stated before, the first film is about a family who's satisfied with the purge until they become victims of blood-hungry teens and even their own neighbors. Though the husband is lost, the rest of the family survives, and they even save an innocent man who snuck into their home for safety. The lesson seemed to be the purge is bad. Big shock. The following film, Purge Anarchy, takes place the next year and follows another group of people. This time, though, we're not just stuck in one house, we're allowed to go outside and see how the rest of the area they live in reacts to the purge. While there's of course psychos everywhere, there's also a resistance group, of which the guy who was hiding in the house in the previous film is a member of. The film focuses not just around these people surviving, but also seeing how other people use this night to their benefit. For example, some folks buy people to kill on their special night, leaving the money to their family. Others create giant mazes to release kidnapped victims in order to hunt them for sport. And some, like our main character Leo, want to get revenge on those who wronged him. After surviving the night and deciding vengeance would make him less of a man, he's shot by a guy named Big Daddy who reveals...
I love this character of Big Daddy. He's kind of like probably the best villain that the series has had. Sure, he's kind of the generic villain, but he's still a pretty good villain in my opinion.
A big plot point.
Unfortunately, the citizens aren't killing enough, so we supplement it all to keep things balanced.
Yep.
That's true, and that's what was explored in the third one, is that they use it. It's kind of like, Thanos in Infinity War. Use the Infinity Stones to restore correction by eliminating half the population. Problem is, that just sucks.
Apparently the purge doesn't work. But not in the stupid way like what the first film said.
Yeah.
It doesn't just not work on an ethical level, it also doesn't work on an economic level. People were killing out of grudges rather than just killing the weak or random people. Meaning there was still a lot of lower class left. So the government secretly dispatched death squads to increase the body count, letting the government control the economy by just getting rid of the poor and the helpless. So it turns out there's a lot more manipulation than we were led to believe. People were being lied to about why the purge works, technically proving that it doesn't work. It's just the government interfering, taking out the lower social class. Suddenly the first film becomes a lot more a little bit more interesting. The characters are still bland and dull, but their blind belief that what their government is telling them is true suddenly seems a lot more fascinating. As long as they're not seeing it, they're less likely to question it. I guess you could argue that's always the ethical mindset in the film, but the sequel adds a financial level to it as well. So even though these first two films do still have problems, this is only the 6th purge and it happens in 2023? Again, feel like there'd be a few more steps. Both of them now suddenly have relevance. And seeing how this is unavoidably a political angle now, that's where the next film goes. Purge election year centers around a senator whose family is killed from the purge, making this the year...
18 years. Hold on. If Anarchy takes place 2023, so 2041, the time jump is one of my huge problems, was probably my biggest problem with election year, because even though Anarchy and election year were actually made 2 years different from each other, the time jump was weird. 'Cause it's like, wait, how does he age well? Although I wouldn't deny it. I mean, yeah, apparently he's got good genes. Everyone's got good genes, apparently.
Centers around a senator whose family is killed from the purge, making this the year... and runs a campaign for president to bring the purge to a close.
Or wait, no, maybe 18 years... Yeah, this is confusing now that I think about it. The timeline is still confusing.
Surprisingly, now that these movies reveal the government's manipulation, a lot of people are behind her and she might possibly win. Naturally, there's a lot of people who don't want her to win though, so when the purge commences, the president makes a change to the rules that now government officials are fair game too. Again, an obvious political move to make them seem identifiably equal when it's of course being used to destroy the other side. Her head of security, Leo, from the last film, does his best to protect her in light of this new law. I like how there's no one main character through these films, but there's still bleed-over characters. It makes the movie seem connected in a surprisingly non-gimmicky way. Once again, we have a series of things going wrong and a group of people on the run trying to survive the night. No big shock, the senator gets captured and is about to be sacrificed by a group called the New Founding Fathers of America. She's saved though, and 2 months later is elected. And, as she mentioned before, intends to end the purge. So, happy ending, right? I mean, the majority of people didn't seem to want the purge, so this should be okay. Well, the last scene shows our main characters listening to a report about violent uprisings all around the country in response to the election results. It's a grim final scene that leaves open some interesting questions.
I love that it ends that on the ambiguous note, which I'm hoping they address in the newest one. The whole thing with it's like, because there's a thing there. Regardless, it's like, I think it's kind of that thing on elections where it's like, even though like there's this new candidate who's now in the chair, this new presidential candidate is now in there, and violent uprisings. It depends. There's just going to be an uprising of certain supporters being like, no, we don't want things to change. We want them to be just like they were. I'm like, okay, whatever. Yeah, that's essentially what it is. And I love that ambiguous ending. I just enjoy ambiguous endings because it leaves us to guess and interpret what happens. And I think they're going to show that in the newest one, which comes out this weekend in theaters. So I would want to go see it in a theater. It looks like it could be pretty cool.
Is it really over? Is this just a small group of people and not the majority who thinks this? If so, how much damage can a small group do? Are things only going to get worse, or are they going to get worse before they get better? If the latter, how much sacrificing is going to come from it? These questions have come a long way since the first film that just asked the question, is the purge good or bad? Wow, that's diving deep into, of course it's bad! These questions, however, are not only more interesting in this universe, but can also draw relevance to our own political climate. But here's the brilliant thing, the political climate at any given time. No matter what party or what candidate, changing of the guard always happens, and usually with a lot of resistance.
That's what I just said. That is so true. That there's gonna be resistance. It's like more recently, and here's the thing, I'm an independent voter, or I'm just independent. I don't even like voting. It's like I'm forced to vote. I wish I couldn't vote. If I voted for the next presidential, if I don't like both candidates, and friends of mine are like who are independent say vote for this guy because he seems better, I'm just gonna vote it null. And if they ask me what I'm gonna say, who I voted for, I'm gonna say I voted for Mayor McCheese because he can help keep the Hamburglar out of this country. And if some of my friends have a problem with that, I'll still be their friend. But the problem is, if they don't understand, if they can't take a joke just because I don't like either candidate, like some of my friends, well, I'm not a big fan of Donald Trump, but I'm also not a big fan of Biden. I don't like both. I just feel like over the years, our candidates have become even worse to the point where I just don't give a shit anymore. And that I say, screw you, government. Screw you. I can tell the NSA is going to be looking at this. How am I having something loading?
People can and have gotten violent, and sometimes it's hard to grasp whether or not it's a loud minority or a loud majority. Within the span of 3 movies, The Purge has gone from a laughably pretentious film to clever satire that can mostly be utilized at any point in time. Even though people aren't literally killing each other, the dog-eat-dog world we often live in that's exploited and even rewarded on a daily basis can still be seen. And it's never fully gonna go away. With the films becoming more and more political, and judging by the poster, I'm just assuming the next one is gonna be very heavy in that. The Purge
Not as much as you would expect.
movies can actually turn into, probably not a great series, but a surprisingly relevant one. Granted, by the time I'm reviewing this, the movie hasn't come out though, and it does have a new director, so I have no idea if it's going to be good or not. But the directors still stayed on as writers, so maybe there's still hope. If it is good, this would be among the rare group of movies that actually gets better and better the more they make. From Mad Max to Mission Impossible to the Fast and Furious movies, these are films that get better the more of them that come out, which doesn't happen often, especially if they begin from a very bad starting point. And The Purge, honestly, seems like one of those series. It's fascinating to see how a franchise that easily could have pleased people by just showing a ton of violence with only a hair of commentary in the sequels, actually chose to not only become smarter with every film, but also try to retcon the problems of the previous ones. It doesn't happen often, and it should be acknowledged when it does. Everyone now knows the idea of the purge. If you even just say that one word, this is the first thing that pops in their head.
It's like the purge, Morty. You've been able to sustain world peace because you have one night a year where you all run around robbing and murdering each other without consequence.
That's right.
What?
It's a wonderfully creepy idea that's worked its way into pop culture. But the films are now reflecting the possibilities of that idea rather than just leaving it at the simple concept. It's being used to analyze ourselves in a creepily fun and creative way, like what a lot of sci-fi exploitation-style films used to do. Now, don't get me wrong, it's not high art. It's still in many respects just a crazy deranged gore fest. Nevertheless, it is neat to see a film series evolve like this, learning from its mistakes and becoming more and more relevant with each passing film. I don't know what the next movie will bring, maybe it'll be the best one yet, maybe it'll be the worst. But either way,
Definitely
The Purge doesn't look like it's leaving our culture anytime soon. I'm the Nostalgia Critic. I remembered so you don't have to.
Alright. Well, Doug does have interesting points there, I will say. You know, like like I mentioned, the ending of the third film. Like, you could probably put that out. It's like The Purge, you can name anything. Wait, what video is this of mine? Yeah. Sorry, it's because I did a reaction to the new trailer for Foundation. And, yeah. Essentially, yeah. I can't stop saying yes. Sorry. Wait, who directed the first Purge? Because the sequel one, which I really did not care for it. It was the worst one in my opinion. I feel like they tried to like I mentioned with the fourth one here. It's like they tried combining all the different points of view, and it was like not as interesting. All right. Well, Demonico's still gone, but yeah. Gerald McMurray, what has he done? Gotta wait until the page loads up. Yeah, for the record, I have like 5 pages up. No wonder the... See? Page unresponsive. Sorry, it's because I hear some strange damn sound. Let me just turn around here. But I'll say the ending, though, for the fourth movie was interesting. Because, yeah. But yeah, Doug has some interesting points there. You know, regardless of the political party, there's always going to be either a loud minority or a loud majority. Let's see, director and producer. All right, what has he done? All right, Burning Sands in an episode of the new Twilight Zone series. Producer. Oh, was the associate producer on Fruitvale Station. And the newest one, the Forever Purge. Oh, it's just the website. Is being someone else. But since it's a sequel, I am hoping it's good. You know? Everardo Goat. Yeah, Demonico is still doing it. Cinematographer. Oh, they have a different cinematographer as well for this one, and yeah, I still hope that the new one is good. I'm hoping. I can't say for sure it will be. I am hoping it is though. Burning Sand, Netflix original film. Huh. All right. Uh. Yeah. So many pages. So little time. Yeah, I do think Everardo Gata has directed a few TV episodes, much like Gerald McMurray has. But yeah, all right, now we're here. Oh God, it's 6:11 p.m. and I'm still recording. Yeah, coming soon. Uh, yeah, writer James DeMonico. Um, yeah, I think this one's gonna be the final one essentially, but I wonder what that means. You know, if it's gonna be like the final one essentially, because I think election year was meant to be the last one, but they've ultimately done this new one, and yeah, hopefully it is better than the prequel movie though. All right, let me see what he's done. Okay, so he was an assistant. All right, so he's directed a movie called Days of Grace. All right, and he was assistant director on the Baz Luhrmann version of Romeo and Juliet. Yeah, second assistant director. All right, yeah. Well, I'm gonna end the video here. I already gave it a like, obviously, but what the hell? This was, the evolution of the Purge movies by the Nostalgia Critic. I'll leave a link to the original video down below, as well as a link to Channel Awesome, and a link to my Instagram. Thank you as always for watching. Do not forget to like, comment, subscribe. Time to end the video here, ladies and gentlemen. I'm gonna wish you all Godspeed, and may God be with you all, is essentially what I was trying to say.